Police resources are limited and gathering evidence and compiling detailed information relating to a case is time-consuming. Now, SearchWorks removes the long, tedious hours and legwork and is a single one-stop shop for accurate and up-to-date data, which is increasingly in demand by forensic investigators. Well, it has access to a vast range of data sites from company registration and company director listings, property and vehicle ownership, qualification verification, tracking of bank accounts and more. To share more on this, we are now joined by Kumandan, the Managing Director of SearchWorks. Mr. Kumandan, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning, Spirit. Thank you for having me.
Now, do share more on the company and briefly explain what you guys do there.
Yeah, sure. SearchWorks, we are the largest data aggregator in South Africa. We have about 20 different golden sources of data that we bring together into a single platform for easy accessible access to data our clients can access, or as forensics companies, journalists, we've got financial institutions that access various types of information to confirm details on individuals and companies. And we also allow access in accordance with obviously all the National Credit Acts and the other acts that are in place in South Africa.
Yeah. So how does it work? I mean, as a journalist, for instance, I'm doing a story and I need to perform criminal background checks without alerting suspects, right?
Yes, that's correct. So, what happens on the criminal check itself? You log onto our platform. We have access to the stored fingerprints. If it is stored on the system itself, we can then go ahead and then pull the criminal report without you having to alert the suspect that the criminal check is being pulled.
So how accurate is this information and how is it gathered?
Okay, so like I said, we've got access to different types of sources of information. So we are at the golden sources of the information itself. So we've got the criminal reports come from the South African Police Services via a third party who does the fingerprints. We've got like for example, the property information comes directly from the deeds office. And all the credit information we get from all the different credit providers in South Africa. So all the credit bureaus in South Africa as well. So we actually bring together all this information for you into a single platform that allows you to not having to go to different sources of information or different websites. You just log onto the SearchWorks application itself and you're able to access all these different types of information. I think currently we've got over 160 different search types that you can search on inside SearchWorks.
Are you guys independent or you work with the South African Police Service?
So we are an independent privately owned company, but we do offer services to the South African Police Services as well.
Okay. How often then do you get to work with the SAPS? And is it something that you'd look into doing on a permanent basis?
Yeah, so we're always happy and open to assisting the South African Police Services when and where possible. So if I may use an example of how we did interact with them recently, we actually had a poaching case in KwaZulu-Natal where we were contacted by the South African Police Services and they wanted to find out if we had any information on individuals that were linked to poaching. And all that we got out of the South African Police Services was actually an ID number. So what we were able to do is across the different ranges of information that we had, we were able to bring together a list of all cell phone numbers and addresses, etc., linked to a certain individual that was linked to the poaching ring. And the South African Police Services then could take all these different cell phone numbers that were linked to him and go to the cell phone providers and actually use cell phone mapping. And we were able to pinpoint one of those cell phone numbers using the cell phone mapping technology at the scene of the poaching, which then tied him down to him actually being the poacher himself. So that's the type of information that we can gather and assist with putting forward.
Are you applying robust safety measures? I mean, taking into cognizance the safety of your workers? Because say, for instance, you want to crack a criminal gang and that's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, no, it is. So we have all the safety measures. But also, I would like to just make you aware that you can only access data and certain types of data for certain reasons. So we don't actually do the physical investigations itself. We more supply the data itself. So in terms of POPI, you can only access data for a certain reason. In terms of the National Credit Act, which we are governed by as the Reseller Credit Bureau, you can only access information for the prescribed purposes. But the South African Police Service is all what we actually do is just supply the information. We do not actually do the investigations itself. We are more of a data hub and a data conduit.
Can you also help anyone looking to get particular information about someone privately?
Again, you have to fall in with the POPI Act and the National Credit Act. You're not allowed to access personal information for just any reason. If there's a legitimate reason or you've got consent to access the information, then you are more than welcome to and able to do that.
So what's a legitimate reason?
So for most of it is business-related reasons, such as an example of debtors collection, the prescribed service for giving credit, extending credit, etc. That's all the prescribed purposes. And if you have consent, that overrides everything else. You can't just, for example, because you have a problem with your neighbor, now go and search on your neighbor and then find out all the information and use it against him. That's not a legitimate purpose.
Okay, so if I want information on someone, do I have to get a court order, or how do I go about doing that?
Yeah, so if you've got a court order, then you can get the information. If you've got the legal grounds to get that information, such as the South African Police Services is using Section 205 of the Criminal Act, and they are allowed to access the information because they are doing an investigation into somebody based on that act. So that's why we are allowed to give them the information. Like I say, if you are opening like a business itself, if you're opening accounts and you need to verify the individual's details or a company details, you have a legitimate reason then to open the account and to do the searches on them.
Okay, so where can people find you guys and share more details about the company?
Yeah, so you can go to www.searchworks.co.za. You'll find all the information that you need there. We've also got our cell phone number, our call center number is 0860 34 0000, and we'll be able to get through to our team that will be able to assist you with all your requirements.
All right, Mr. Kumandan, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, SearchWorks has contributed to the successful capture and prosecution of a number of criminals. We just spoke to the Managing Director, Kumandan.